Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। शिला प्रपाद की जय। कीर्तन पार्टी की जय।
Yeah, Prabhuji, they are ready. They are going to start.
Go ahead, Mukunda Prabhu and Kanchan Mataji, please.
Start.
Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami
Namo Pada Krishna Prestaya Bhutale
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashyabdya
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Dishatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jaya Shri Krishna
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Shri Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Nameva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva 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 Gatiranyatha
Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama Eva Kevalam Kalona Nastiva Gatir Anyata
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe, Shama Sundar Radhe, Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Sharad Bihari Radhe, Sharad Bihari Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Sila Prabhupada. Gurudev, Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Sila Gurudev. Krishna Guru, Krishna Guru, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Krishna Guru, Hari Bol. Krishna Guru, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Krishna Guru, Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol. Jai,
संकीर्तन की
Jai,
राधे श्याम सुंदर की
Jai,
जय
Jai, Jai.
गौर निताई की जय
Hari,
थैंक यू वेरी मच
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Kanchan Mataji and Mukunda Prabhu. Wonderful kirtan as always. Thank you very much again.
all glories to Srila Prabhupada
Thank you. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Ajit Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. You there, Prabhu? Okay, maybe he has just stepped out. So again, thank you very much to all of you for joining our regular Friday satsang. So until he comes, we can actually revisit our last week's session. If anybody would like to recap, volunteer to recap last week, please go ahead. Ramcham Prabhu, Saujanya Mataji, Kirtida. Until what verse did we do? Was it verse number 10? Saujanya Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, sorry, Prabhuji, I was away. What were you asking, Prabhuji?
What verse did we discuss last week?
It was in 3rd chapter.
Until 10?
I'll tell you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dhanavad Prabhuji. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhuji, we did 9 in detail, and then 10th one, Prabhuji just touched actually.
Yes. So can you
Some
give,
comfort.
Yeah,
mm,
sure, Prabhuji.
give a quick glimpse of last week's?
I'll try, Prabhuji. And this is 9th shloka. Yeah. Just to start the 9th shloka, but in the previous verse, like how Prabhuji said about the what Krishna was trying to tell from 5th shloka to 8th shloka is that when Arjuna said, I would like to abstain from doing the work and then just like take a renunciation and go to the forest. So Krishna answered by saying in 3 points, saying that it's not about just abstaining from work because you're forced to do it because of the influence of the modes of material nature. And also, it's not about not doing the work. You think that you won't get connected to the sins or the karmic reactions. It's about your mind not having attached to that. So for that, he gave the example of slow down. There was one shloka. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes the remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I'm to be known. Indeed, I'm the compiler of Vedanta, and I'm the knower of the Vedas. So Prabhuji mentioned this 15th chapter, 15th verse to how that shloka will be as a foundation for us for the following shlokas. So it is from the 10th and 11th, but in the 9th shloka, another 2 important notes were made wherein we are helpless, not 9th one, sorry, prior to that. We are helpless, but you should not make it as helpless by material nature. Instead, you do for Krishna to make him happy, then it doesn't become helpless in a negative way. So the summary is that Krishna is trying to tell like you cannot escape from the work. Instead, you do it for me, then you don't get connected. And there was some more, Prabhuji. I didn't make a note, but I need 2 minutes to think. I don't know if we talked about the demigods and all that, or was it just in the introduction? I didn't write the notes, but I think Prabhuji just gave introduction. That's what I'm not trying to remember. But I know we talked a lot, and a lot of us had different questions. But then the main tone, like as I said, chapter 15 shloka, was the kind of the introduction that he wanted us to know. Maybe I'm forgetting something.
Avahaschaham hridhi sannivishto mattasmrutirgnanam apohanam.
Yes.
Ahameva vedyo. A very wonderful shloka.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Sarojini Mataji, you did wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You remember so much.
No, because I write down, when I see what I've highlighted, that helps me to remember what was the takeaway, what was the context. Otherwise, I'm not just able to like that remember.
That is the right way to go, actually. And everybody should implement that, in order to remember always right. So in not olden days, actually, in our young age, when we do mistakes in school, they used to give imposition, right? You have to write. So that way we remember. So the more we write, the more we remember.
And I should thank you, Prabhuji, because in the beginning, when you started, you encouraged us to tell the recap. I was like, anyway, we heard. But then when you try to recap, I wasn't able to remember anything. Then I thought, I don't know.
That's how the chain continues. Otherwise, we lose a link.
Yes. Yeah. I just started Google Docs, like since you started, and I used to write. Then I realized if I lose the book and all that, So anyway, we are in front of the electronics, so the Google Docs will stay forever, and it was easy for me to just take notes and type and highlight and underline, and that helps me what I've written.
Very nice.
So,
Thank you.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavad pranam all
Hare
Guru.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Pranam,
Prabhuji.
all Guru, Prabhupada.
Pranam. Jai Ho Prabhupada. So that was a very nice recap there. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I'm sure I'm missing something because there's something else you told us. I'm not able to remember.
That's all right. I think somebody else will definitely remember. So if somebody else wants to jump into the
Kanchan
recap,
Mataji has her hands raised. So Kanchan Mataji, you want
very
to
nice.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Nikunj Leela.
Nikunj Leela.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance, Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
So as you told last time, like in 3.9, Mukta Sangha, what is the meaning of Mukta Sangha? It's a liberation from material enjoyment. The work is done under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master. That is only the perfect. Otherwise, that the work is not perfect because it's not in it's not coming in disciplic succession. So that you explain, and working for the pleasure of Krishna under the instruction of the spiritual master is very important. That should be they should be done only. Otherwise, that work is not like it's that work is like just what you can say. It's that karma. It will generate karma. What I understood, and nishkarm karma is can be taken as in the higher level because in this one is working for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is why nishkarm karma is very in higher level, because we keep Krishna in between all our activities, even though we are grahastha or whatever in ashram we are following. So nishkarm karma is very, very important to get rid of our generation of karma. So if there is no difference between animal and human being, unless the human being engage themselves into the satisfying Krishna and act whatever they are acting, doing their activities to pleasure Krishna. So there is no difference between animal and human being that you explained. And you have given the reference for this from Srimad Bhagavatam 7.6.26, as Prahlad Maharaj said that the purpose of our life is to understand the mood, activities, and all pastimes by surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna. So the main purpose of our life, what we have, whatever the life we have got from Krishna. So the aim of the life should be to understand Krishna and to go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. We knew there were other things that not all of us had remembered so far. So thank you for reminding us of all of those references to Srimad Bhagavatam and some of the other points that you covered, Mataji. It's very, very nice and makes the connection to what we are going to discuss today also. So thank you so much, Mataji. Anybody else?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vijay Mataji, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji. I remembered Prabhuji also gave example of Parikshit Maharaj. Once he came to know that he's going to die in 7 days, then immediately what he did is he approached a guru. So in the context of the Mukta Sangha, where you have to work under a bona fide master to please Krishna. So even then, what did he do? Like out of the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, in that, to attain that moksha. But because by doing karma, he did dharma, but because he reached the gurus, that's why he was able to be guided in the right way. That's another example. And then as Mataji said, Prahlad Maharaj, actually I wrote this, I thought this was from the previous class. I don't know why I felt it was 2 weeks ago. So the simple way is like how Prahlad Maharaj said, whatever we do, we put our knowledge for getting the material knowledge is all waste if we don't get the knowledge to understand Krishna and going back to Godhead. It's like only by surrendering to the Supreme Lord is the permanent knowledge. Rest all, for whatever we use our mind and efforts, is all the temporary knowledge. So that's the 7.6.26.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, that was an important instruction given by Prahlad Maharaj, and which ties in with what we have discussed from the Bhagavad Gita as well, where Krishna says the purpose of studying the Vedas is to understand me. Vedeshta sarveraham eva vedya. So obviously everything that we study in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a connection with Srimad Bhagavatam also, and there are examples in Srimad Bhagavatam of those who have lived these principles, implemented these principles, and instructed others through their own example on how to follow these principles. So thank you, Madhuri. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I would like to just tell about in verse number 8. So it is
Hare
very, very
Krishna.
interesting. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Can you mute first? Yeah. So it's like the verse was Niyatam Kuru Karmatvam Karma Jayo Hiya Karmada Sarira Yatrapi Chate Na Prasiddhado Karmadaha. So perform your prescribed duty. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So this is underlined like one cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So we have to do the work as both of the Mataji, Sajanya Mataji and Nikunj Lila, so told about like instead of doing the karma, that whatever the karma we are doing, that we can engage in the Krishna service. That is that will make us to come back to Godhead. So just I wanted to reiterate on that, because that's a very, very touching point, because we cannot control or controlling the senses for the practitioner is very, very difficult. We cannot do that. And we can do that controlling our senses over the period of time only. So what we can do at this point of time, we can engage in the Krishna service. And I see that in the purport, Prabhupada Maharaj mentions like two kind of pretenders are there. Like one is the pseudo meditator, and that he is like misinterpret themselves as the belongings of the high percentage kind of this kind of things, like they will be just imitating, kind of. And one is the great professional, that what they do is that just means they falsely pose they have to sacrifice everything for the sake of the achievement of the spiritual life. So they just gather kind of scientific things and the knowledge or jnana, but that will be kind of impersonal jnana. So there will be no relationship with Krishna. So they cannot engage their senses or the work, and they cannot offer to the Krishna. So that kind of, they comes under the pretender kind of things. And so what is the means in that, if we perform our prescribed duties, what happens, Prabhupada Maharaj mentions there, that cleanses our heart. So when we suppose if we are not even very clear about what we are doing, but we are following that sadhana or bhakti, means sadhana, what we can say, Vedic process also. So that will cleanses the heart, and by that way we can understand everything. So that is very, very touching, Prabhuji. That's what I wanted to reiterate on that. And Prabhuji, like in 3.9, there was a discussion going on about the yagna. So it's a very, very good point there in the yagna kind of. And everywhere this, Prabhupada Maharaj quoted many, many times, like work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu had to be performed. So whatever we do the sacrifice, whether Sankirtana or that yagna, that fire sacrifice, it goes to the Vishnu. So, and we had that discussion as well. So during that, and there is the reference in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So I had little clarification. If you have that, something we can go through today. So that's all I remember, Prabhuji, from yesterday class. I mean, I was referring Prabhupada's purport for verse number 8. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for all of those detailed explanations on verses 8 and 9. Lots of important points were made there, and that was, we'll flow those points into our discussion today as well. So thank you so much for those points, Prabhuji. And then as far as the clarification that you had asked for, one thing I forgot to take from you was the verse number that you were referring to. So I'm sorry, I don't have the answer today, but I'll definitely get it for you for the next time. What was the verse that you were referring to that you wanted clarification on?
Yeah, Prabhuji, verse number is 1.3 point something 89 or something, where is the incarnation as the yagna. So that is the initial verse only. So I can go today and see that what is the verse number. I will ping that. It may take a few second time. So 1:3, Canto 1, Chapter 3, and
verse 89 is it?
Not 89, probably 8 or 9.
Okay.
Sacrifice, incarnation of Narayan.
Because I was thinking about it last week after the class, and then
yeah, verse number 12, Prabhuji. I got it.
Verse number 12. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because
the seventh incarnation as Yagna.
Okay, I'll look into that because I could not identify exactly what or where the reference was coming from. So now I know 1:3:12. So I'll check it out, probably, and then next week we can discuss the answer. Okay, probably. Thank you. And sorry, don't have the answer today, but I'll get it for you next time. All right. Anybody else on the recap?
I think we are good to.
Okay, then we'll continue with the reading. So last time we had discussed through text 9. So let's start with the recitation of verses 10 and 11 and 12. So who would like to start, probably, for 10, verse 10?
Yeah, so Kanchan Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Text 10, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Sahayagnya sagnya praja srishtva.
Sahayagnya
praja srishtva. Puro vacha prajapita. Anena prasavisyadvam. Esha vosta ishta kamadok. Translation. In the beginning of the creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by the yajna or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for happily and for living happily and achieving liberation." Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Tarjuna Mataji is there? Okay, Mukunda Prabhu.
भाव्यत तनेन
एवान् भाव्यवतानेन
ते देव भाव्ययन्तु वा
ते देवा भावयन्तु वा
परस्परं भवाव्यन्त
परस्परं भावयन्तः
वाप्स्यत
तेया परम् अवाप्यस्त.
Gods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will region for all. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Narasimham Prabhu?
Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva
Ishtan
Bhagani
Bhagavad
Bodheva
dasyante yajna bhavita
Dasyante
दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविता
tair dattan apradayebhyo yo bhunte stena eva sa.
यो भुङ्क्तेस्तेन एव सा.
Translation. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hari Krishna. I think would Tyagu Prabhu like to read?
Yes, Ji. Text 10 Ji.
Yes.
Sahayagna prajaswata
Sahayagna Prajasva
purovacha prajapita
Purovacha
प्रजापिता
anena prasavityatam
Anena prasavityatvam
esavotsa itsakamadu.
एसावो
Kamadu.
Translation, Prabhuji. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and they blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yagna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you all desirable things." Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brinda, you want to go with 11?
Devan bhavatanena
Devan
भावयतानेन
te deva bhavayantu vaha
देवा भावयन्तु
parasparam bhavayantaha
परस्परं भावयन्तः
Rayah param avapsyatam.
तेरयापरम् अवाप्यस.
The demigods being pleased by sacrifice will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else?
इष्टान् भोगानि वो देव
Ishtan
भोगानि वो देवा
दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः
दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः
तैर्दत्तान् अप्रदायैभ्यो
तैर्दत्तान् अप्रदायतेभ्यो
यो भुङ्क्ते तेन एव सः.
यो भुङ्क्ते तेन एव सः.
In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied with the performance of yajna, sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I will read text number 10, Prabhuji. Sayagya praja srestva Puro vacha prajapati Anen pravistya dhavamesa
Anena prasavishyadvam
O vatista O vatista istakamadhuk In the translation and purport by His Divine Grace Avachana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generation of men and demigods, along with sacrifice for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yagna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll
Yeah,
start
we
the
can,
discussion. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyanjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmetam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunath Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gorangi Radhe Bindavaneshwari Drishyamanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, so text 10. Sayagna praja shishtva purovacha prajapati anena savishyadvam eshavo astva ishtakamaduk. So last time we had discussed that from text 10, verse 10, which we just read, to 16. So these 7 verses will describe the progressive stages of the yoga ladder. What that means is progressive stage of the yoga ladder. The yoga ladder starts from karma kand and it goes gradually higher and higher. And the highest rung in that ladder, the highest stage of that ladder is the stage of the platform of bhakti yoga. So now from verse 10 to 16, we're going to start from karma kand. That is the beginning process. Now, So in text 10, basically, Krishna starts explaining this whole process of karma kand. So in the translation, Prabhupada explains that in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, quote, "Be thou happy by this yajna," sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily, and achieving liberation. So just see how nicely Krishna is explaining to Arjun uh, many things in this verse. First of all, Krishna is explaining to Arjun uh, at a high level. What jumps out is that how can living entities be happy in this material world? That's one point that Krishna is making. But less obvious to us by simply reading the translation, but equally clear though, is the point that Krishna is making to Arjun about what is the source? What is the source of sacrifices? What is the source of Vedas? And so Krishna says in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generation of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So Krishna is saying the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of demigods and men along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So who is the Lord of all creatures? The Lord of all creatures, yes, exactly. Lord of all creatures is Krishna. And so Krishna himself is saying that in the beginning of the creation, I sent many men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So then if you start thinking a little more deeply about this and you say, okay, so why did Krishna make this creation? And then because we are talking about the beginning of creation, Krishna is saying this, so maybe the question should arise in our mind that why did Krishna make this creation? And then why did he send forth generations of men, generations of demigods, and sacrifices for Vishnu? You see? So these three questions naturally arise in our mind when we read this. So why did he make this creation? Why did he send forth men and demigods? And why did he give sacrifices? And then Krishna says that the Lord of all creatures, meaning Krishna himself, he blessed them by saying, and then in quotes he said, "Be thou happy by the performance of the sacrifice." And anyway, we'll read that in a little more detail because there's a lot of material in this. So the first point becomes, why did Krishna make this creation? So we can find the answer in what he's saying. He made the creation for generations of men. He made this, when we say made this creation, it means this material world. Why did he make this material world? To send forth generations of men. Why did he send forth generations of men? We know the answer to that is that we were actually being rebellious to Krishna. We wanted to enjoy this material world, the material creation, the material resources, independent of Krishna. So Krishna says, okay, if that's what you want to do, then creation was put into existence. But then he also men the formula for how to come out of this creation. So he's so kind. First, he made this creation because we wanted it. He let us go there because we wanted to go there. And then he said, I'll also give you the formula for how to live peacefully there. And not only how to live peacefully there, because I don't want you to stay stuck there. I also will give you the formula of how to come back. And he's indicating that when he says, in quotes, be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily. So he's saying, as long as you're living in this material world, perform these sacrifices and you will live happily. Why will you be happy? Because all your necessities will be satisfied. If your necessities are satisfied, you'll be peaceful, you'll be happy. And then he says, for living happily and achieving liberation. So see, he's given the formula for living happily, but he's also stressing, I don't want you to stay stuck there. So he's saying, and achieving liberation. So there is a lot that is actually being mentioned in this verse. A lot meaning, why was the creation? Who sent us here? What formula did he give us to stay peacefully here? And what formula did he give us to come out of here? These four things are addressed in this one simple translation. Okay, then there are some very important words here. Pura, anciently, Uvacha said, Prajapati, the Lord of creatures. And then Prasavishyadvam, be more and more prosperous. This indicates that Krishna knows that this material world, because he has created it, he knows exactly what it is like. And he knew that people in this material world will always be in anxiety. Will always be in anxiety. So he gave us the formula for alleviating this anxiety, for removing this anxiety. And what is the formula for removing anxiety? He said, perform yajnas. Perform yajnas. Now, you might ask, how will performance of yajna relieve us of anxiety? So then in the next verse, Krishna says, the demigods being pleased by sacrifices. So he's giving the sacrifice. He says, why? Because the demigods will be pleased by the sacrifices. Will also please you. And thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So he said the idea is that when you perform sacrifices, the demigods will be pleased by them. And when they are satisfied with the sacrifice, they will give you what you want in return. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains very nicely that the Supreme Lord, he is the controller, he is the creator, he is the provider, he is the destroyer also. Now, he has empowered the demigods to supply us with various necessities, but each demigod has their scope of responsibility. According to how Prabhupada explained this in the purport, each demigod has their scope of responsibility. And they can satisfy you and they can bestow upon you benedictions based on what their responsibility is. So Surya, for example, can bestow upon us adequate sunshine. Sunlight is very essential for our health. So good health, all these sorts of things, sun god, Surya Dev can provide. But Pavan Dev, he will give the air, the oxygen, and all those things that we need to breathe, etc. So that's why Krishna says the demigods. He didn't say one demigod, he said demigods. So they are empowered by him to manage the affairs of this material creation and to provide us with their scope of responsibility, because we need many things for our survival. And so Krishna said, if you perform sacrifices, the demigods will be happy. They will supply you with benedictions in return. And then you will be happy because all your requirements will be met. So if that is the case, if the formula is so simple, then let me ask you, let's keep it interactive. Then why is there so much of stress and tension in society? Why do we feel that needs are not being met and needs are not being satisfied?
Because we are not thanking demigods because they are giving everything via
Because we're not doing yajna.
We are not thanking them.
yeah.
And somebody said something about yagya also. Somebody said in the background, I heard.
We are not offering them yajna.
Very nice. Very good. Yeah. We are not thanking them. We are not performing yagya.
Yeah, Prabhuji, like for the Kali Yuga, like yajna is the Sankirtan yajna. Prabhupada Maharaj, like stress on
Yes.
that. So Sankirtan yajna. So which is very easy and sublime. So if we perform that, so our heart will be purified. There will be no, like quarrel, and there will be no kind of anxiety in ourselves, and will be peace. So, and we can focus on Krishna, we can meditate on Krishna, and we can remember Krishna, what's a manmanam.
Right. So why are people not performing yagya? Why are they not performing Sankirtan yagya? Because what you just said is 100% right, Prabhuji, but why are they then not performing it?
Because now people don't follow Vedic. Because now they don't follow Vedas.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And do they even know about the Vedas?
No.
No. Do they know that by performing Sankirtan Yagya, we'll be able to satisfy all the other? They don't know. So it is basically out of ignorance, lack of knowledge, right? So how is it that we know and that we are able to discuss all of this? How do we know?
We are fortunate because Mukta Sangha, liberation.
Because we are reading the Shastras.
Right. We are very fortunate that we are reading the Shastras, but do we have the capacity to understand the Shastras?
No.
Under the
As you
filter
said
of
in the
spiritual master.
last class, and both of the Mataji also, like telling the revision, like saying that we have to approach the Guru. So Guru will give that, the what is the actual jnana, means tadbidi panipatena. So we have to inquire from the Guru submissively. Then Guru will impart the real knowledge. So,
And that's exactly right, Prabhuji. And then so what is the proof that the Guru will impart knowledge to us if we approach submissively?
that is the proof.
Or not.
Shastra is the proof itself. I mean, it is.
Right. Shastra is the proof. And so in our day-to-day life, are we seeing the proof?
There are many devotees who have exhibited.
Yeah.
Our Srila Prabhupada is the best for us.
Right. So we see the devotees, how they do when they do that, like say Harinam Sankirtan or any kind of Sankirtan Yagna. So how they happily they enjoy, and that ecstasy, what we say, uh, the static, how they dance, do the kirtan, they enjoy they love each other, they worship Krishna, means all the way, offering bhoga, eating prasadam. Means on that time, we never feel on that way up in that mood, never feel like what is going in the office, what kind of tension we have, what this money, where it is going, and this, that, all the anxiety will go out. So that's the mood we have to develop, means for all the time. And
yeah. And very, very simple example. Let's say if we look at just the small group of people that we are over here, right? Even we are discussing this knowledge. We are discussing Shastra, we are discussing Vedas. I certainly didn't have any qualification or don't have any qualification. I am not a Sanskrit scholar or anything by any means. I don't know, you may be, somebody else may be, but but even we have got the ability and the chance to understand how Krishna sent forth generations of men and demigods that perform sacrifices. Normal, ordinary, simple people like us, even we are familiar now with this knowledge due to the mercy of Prabhupada, who's given us this information. So this is very plain evidence in our lives, in our day-to-day lives. And so when we take shelter of our Guru's has taken shelter of Prabhupada, and we are seeing for ourselves the evidence of what the acharyas can do. So today we are able to discuss all this and understand all this and try and implement all this in our life only because of the instructions and the directions that have been given to us by Prabhupada and by Prabhupada's followers. So it is so wonderful that we now understand that text 11 is saying that the demigods being pleased by sacrifices will please you, and thus cooperation, by cooperation between men and demigod, prosperity will reign for all. Now, the question I had asked you was that if the formula for happiness is so straightforward and so simple, then why is everybody not happy? And the answer that you all gave, including little Mukunda, he said that people don't know. People are ignorant. That's exactly right. It's so wonderful. See, even a young child can understand, because this is the power. This is the power of the instruction of a great acharya like Prabhupada, that even a child can understand. Krishna says, Patam Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prachati. Right? Krishna says, if you offer me with love and devotion, even a simple leaf or little flower or little water, I will accept it. Why will he accept it? Because
if we offer with love and devotion,
he will accept it, isn't it? Very nice. So, but very good. That's exactly what I was going to say. So you are actually you are very knowledgeable. It's very good. Krishna's Bhavagrahi Janardana. Can you explain that for everybody's benefit?
Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana because when he gets something, when he gets offered something, so say we offer just one tulsi leaf.
We cannot hear, Prabhuji.
Yeah, speak a little bit louder, Prabhuji.
Okay. So if we just offer a tulsi leaf, then Krishna will accept it. But he won't look at what we offered. If we offered a chapan bhog or if we just offered a leaf, he will look at how much love and devotion we have offered it with.
Very nice. Because bhava means the sentiment, the feeling. And grahi, Krishna accepts. He accepts the feeling and the sentiment with which you offer. There is a very beautiful story in Chaitanya Charitamrita on this point to explain to further explain about the nature of Krishna being Bhavagrahi Janardana. But anyway, before we get to that, so Krishna says that the demigods will be pleased by the sacrifice and then you will be happy. So the world doesn't know that. We know that because this instruction is coming to us from the Shastra. Therefore, we understand that the formula for peace is very simple. Formula for happiness is very simple. All we need to do is perform sacrifices, and that will keep everybody happy. Now, there is further explanation given to that here in text 12. But before we go there, remember, so far Krishna has not said anything about bhakti. In these two verses, so far, what has he said? He said that in the beginning of creation, Krishna sent forth generations of demigods and men and gave them sacrifices for living happily and achieving liberation. And then he said, why that's the case is because he says the demigods, they are in charge of, well, he says that in the next verse, in text 12, he says, in charge of the various necessities of life. The demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, will supply all necessities to you. So that is the relationship. Krishna has made demigods in charge of necessities. We need things. Demigods can supply those things. So we please the demigods by sacrifice. When they are pleased, they supply us our necessities and everybody's happy. Problem arises that people came to this material world. Krishna gave the instructions. Everybody ignored the instructions. And then they are wondering, why am I not getting necessities? Why am I in anxiety? Why am I in tension? So why did they ignore? Why did human beings ignore the instructions of Krishna? That please perform sacrifices if you want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. But why don't they?
Forgot Krishna.
They forgot Krishna, right? They forgot the instructions. They didn't pay any attention to the instructions. Why didn't they pay attention to the instructions? Because inherently we have this rebellious nature. The reason we are in this material world is because we are rebellious to Krishna's laws. We don't want laws. Oh, I want to be free. I want to do what I want to do. Why should I listen to this? Why should I listen to that? Where is the proof that Shastra comes? How many times have you come across people say, if you show me God, then I'll believe? Right? People say that, right? If you show me God, then I'll believe. Otherwise, oh, this is all mythology. Oh, this is all sentimental. You know, where's the proof? There's no proof. People talk like that. This is the indication of our rebellious nature. That is why we were dumped into this material world in the first place. So see how what Krishna says in text 12. He says, but he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Krishna is saying, you keep taking from the demigods. Every day we are breathing oxygen, we are enjoying sunlight, it's raining outside, water is abundantly available, all of that is there. We just take it for granted. And what do people say when you talk about rain and sunshine and air? Oh, that's just nature, right? That's just nature. We take it for granted. When there's no electricity in your house, then you realize, oh, I have to pay the electricity bill, otherwise the service will get cut off. But because we have abundant air to breathe and water to drink and all that kind of thing, we say that this is just supplied by nature, and we forget that even nature is under the arrangement of somebody and there is some bill to be paid. And what are those bills? Those bills are the sacrifices. That's how we pay those bills. But if you don't pay those bills, then you're a thief. Why are you a thief? Because you are just taking. If you go to Walmart and just pick up something and don't pay for it, then you're a thief. We are doing the same thing. We take air every day, we take sunlight every day, we take everything for granted, and we don't give anything in return to the demigods. Because we can't see them. We say, oh, where is the demigod? There is no demigod. I can't see them. No bill to be paid. But then when there are natural calamities and wildfires in California and drought and this and that, then some people start to think that maybe somebody is upset. Maybe something went wrong somewhere. So what went wrong is being described here. That we do not pay our bills. We do not perform sacrifices. And so the demigods, they still say, okay, never mind, give them, never mind, never mind, never mind. Out of mercy, out of compassion, they keep giving, but the supply does get little reduced. And sometimes there are some shakeups that they give in order to help us remember that there are some laws that need to be followed, but we still don't remember. Vast humanity does not remember because they find this an inconvenience. They find it an inconvenience. We want everything. If somebody was given the go-ahead that you go into Walmart today, everything is free, people will bring semi-trucks and load them up and run away, right? Because we like to get everything for free. All advertisements in the world say, every advertiser offers something for free. It says, buy one, get one free. Buy two, get third half price. We like that very much. See? Modern advertising and sales promotion plays on this human psychology that, oh, if you do this, you can get that for free or for less money or for this. So we like to get things for free. But Krishna is saying this freeloading tendency of yours is not a very good thing. You're a thief. Don't keep freeloading from what Mother Nature is providing. Oh, it is Mother Nature. She's mother. She has to provide. No bill to pay. It's all for free. That's not right. Because why is it not right? Because Krishna is giving the law here. He says, I sent forth generations of men and demigods. I said, here's the system. You please offer sacrifice to the demigods. They will give you what you want and everybody will be happy. And we come up with our own smartness and we say, no, I'll take from the demigods, but I won't give anything in return. Wow, who has seen the demigods? Right? Who has seen them? I can't see them. Maybe they are not there. Why should I just give anything to them? You see? So this is the beginning of Karma Kand. The atheistic, see what happens is that when things are deprived from us, then people start thinking, oh, maybe there's something I need to do. The atheist will say, as that's just coincidence, that the wildfire happened or the drought happened or something bad happened to somebody. Atheist will say this is coincidence. But a person who has little more intelligence will say, no, maybe there is God, there is a superior power, and maybe we should go out and try to please them. So then they try to follow the instructions given in the Shastras. And when they follow the instruction in the Shastras, meaning perform sacrifices to please the demigods and so on and so forth, and when they start seeing the good benefits of that, it helps them develop faith. So this is the whole, or this is a short summary of how the Karma Kand section works. You perform sacrifices for certain demigods, for certain needs. They give you something in return. And so your necessities are met. But that is the basic stage of spiritual realization. Basic stage. Somebody then becomes little more advanced. They will start to think, okay, if God can supply me this, but not that, and the other demigod can supply me that, but not this, then who is it who can supply me everything? So then the curiosity and the level of questioning starts to go higher and higher. So this is the beginning stage of spiritual realization, where a person realizes that I don't want to be a thief. I am getting all these benedictions from the demigods. I should be doing something in return. And therefore they start performing sacrifices. Now, Ramchand Prabhu said, Prabhupada has described that, in Kali Yuga, Sankirtan Yajna is the sacrifice that is recommended. That is indeed the case, because what happens is, like we had discussed some time back, how many verses are there in the Vedas, in the Vedic literature?
1 lakh, 1 lakh.
1 lakh, 1 lakh, right? So 10 billion. Now you tell me, how practical, how possible is it possible for us to perform all of this? See, in different ages, different capacities are there. In Kali Yuga, where your lifespan is only 100 years maximum and you have limited intelligence and all that, we don't have the capacity to perform all these sacrifices. But we don't want to be thieves. We are now reading this information and we want to live by the laws of God. We don't want to break the laws of God. We don't want punishment. So therefore, Krishna is so kind. He said, all right, in Kali Yuga, I'll give you a simple sacrifice. You perform Sankirtan. And remember, in the beginning of creation, this verse 10 says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you please the Lord of all creatures. You just please Krishna. And all the demigods will be satisfied, automatically satisfied. Last time Kirtanda Mataji mentioned that if you water the root of the tree, then the entire tree is satisfied. That's exactly the thing. Krishna is the root. You please Krishna, Krishna is satisfied. All the demigods, read in the purports of these verses, Prabhupada explains that the demigods are different parts of his body.
Yata taror mula nishechanena.
And
There you
Krishna
go.
is the stomach.
Huh?
And Krishna is the stomach.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you put food in the stomach, the whole body is nourished. There's that wonderful story in Mahabharata also, when Duryodhan sent Durvas Muni to the home of the Pandavas, saying, Durvas Muni, you have blessed me so much, very nice, thank you. Please bless my cousins also, please go to their house, because he knew that they didn't have any food. So Durvas Muni would get angry and he would curse them. And Durvas Muni showed up right after lunch had been served, and Draupadi had eaten, and she had that benediction Akshay Patra. That Akshay Patra would supply as much food as you want, except she could only uh, she had to do that before she ate. Once she would eat, then for that day, no more food would be available. And so when Durvas Muni came, she had already eaten. Yudhishthir Maharaj came to her and said, Draupadi, Durvas Muni has come along with 10,000 followers, please cook for them. She said, I have already eaten, now there will be no food today. So they were all very worried. In the meantime, Krishna came. Krishna said, what's the problem? Draupadi said, I've already eaten, now how do we feed Durvas Muni? There's no food left. Krishna says, okay, let me check. He looked in the kitchen, and in the pot, there was 1 grain of rice left. Krishna said, Are, Draupadi, you are saying there's no food left? There is this much. Draupadi said, where? He said, here, there's 1 grain of rice. So she says, 1 grain of rice. Krishna said, never mind, that's enough. And Krishna ate that 1 grain of rice. And because he was satisfied with that one grain, Durvas Muni and all his followers suddenly started feeling that, oh, we've eaten such a heavy meal. And Durvas Muni understood that this is the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. He said, okay, my followers, follow me. Let's now go away from here. Our work is done. And that way the Pandavas were saved. So satisfying Krishna is the answer. When Krishna is satisfied, all the demigods are satisfied. And when all the demigods are satisfied, there'll be no anxiety for us. So this is a very nice introduction to why we should develop bhakti for Krishna. So see how nicely Krishna is laying the foundation. In these 2-3 verses, he's only explaining that we should satisfy the demigods. They will please, they will reciprocate with us and everybody will be happy. Some fundamental principle is given for an atheist, that atheist persons, please understand, I'm the one who's created this world. I've sent you here. Now you just perform these sacrifices and you'll be happy. Everybody will be happy. But due to our rebellious nature, if you look around, the vast majority of the world doesn't even want to do this much. So to conclude, we'll just summarize that we may not be able to see the demigods, but the demigods can see us. They know what we are doing. When we keep taking and we don't give back in return, Yamaraj is making a full note of everything. And that is why there is this law of action and reaction. You have to repay. If not in this life, then in the next life. But when somebody starts following the Vedas, they are intelligent because they have accepted that there is a supreme authority. We have a tendency to want to satisfy our senses, but we say, okay, we will satisfy our senses, but not just any way we like to. No, we will follow the system that has been given in the Vedas. Right? We won't just do what we want, we will follow the system in the Vedas. When you follow the system, the recommendation, the laws given in the Vedas, then there is no reaction. Then there's no sinful reaction. Therefore, because why is there no sinful reaction? Because by following the principles of Vedas, you are accepting Krishna's authority. You're not saying, I'll do what I want. I don't believe in you. No. When you say, okay, I believe in God, and that's why I'm following this system, Krishna says, very good. He's obedient. No need to punish him. You see, it's so simple. So why is this being discussed here? Because Arjun was thinking, why should I perform sacrifices and all this? I'll just go to the forest and I'll live as a beggar. I have no need for anything. I'm not going to take anything from the demigods. I'll just go and live in the forest. I'll just beg. And Krishna then says to him, well, that will be in text 13 and 14. So we haven't reached there yet. Yeah, we've just done through 12. So Arjun is thinking that I won't have to do any sacrifices. And so in 13 and 14, we'll come to the answer why Krishna then explains to him that Arjun, even if you go to the forest, you will have to perform sacrifices. Nobody can escape this system of law, action, reaction. So don't think that you can run away from your duty by saying, okay, I'll change my duty. So far, my duty was be a Kshatriya. Now I'm going to change my duty. I will become a beggar. Then I don't have to do any sacrifices. Krishna says, so he will explain in 13 and 14 why that's not going to, that's not the way to escape. But so far what we've studied 10 and 11 is that basically, if you want to be relieved from the law of action and reaction, please follow the instruction of Shastra. And of course, then we jump 50 steps ahead and say, okay, Sankirtan Yagya is the Yagya to be performed because we cannot perform all these different sacrifices, and that is the correct answer. So this helps us understand why we should perform Sankirtan Yagya. All right, Prabhuji, thank you. Mataji's, I'll stop here. Any questions, comments?
Prabhuji, what did you say last sentence? If you want to be relieved from action and reaction, then follow the Shastras or Vedas, or what did you say?
Yes. Then follow the instructions of the Shastras, because
Instructions.
because when you follow the instruction of the Shastra, what does it demonstrate? It demonstrates that you are obedient to the laws of God. Therefore,
Thank you.
God says, then you should not be punished. You're not a thief.
Very nice.
And
Prabhuji.
If yeah, go ahead, Ramcham Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Very nice, Prabhuji. You told about like we have to, whatever we are taking from the demigod, whatever they are in charge of, we have to, offer them or repay them and give them the respect. And finally to the Krishna, who is the cause of all causes, or he is the master of everything. So I remember once Adigada Das Prabhu was mentioning, like he in his hospital. So this in the pandemic, the patients were suffering for this oxygen and all. So when they want oxygen, they have to buy the oxygen. For that, they have to pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. Same when we saw that in India, so many people were suffering due to this COVID, and there were a huge requirement of oxygen. So for a small container, people were paying 10,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, means depending upon.
Right.
So if we think of like how much oxygen we took so far in our lives, so so much of containers, so much of, even whatever we have not earned so far in our life, that much we already consumed. So, and so in return, if we say we have not taken anything, so definitely we are thieves. So if we are doing something for that demigod and finally to Krishna, so of course, like we are repaying, and whether by simply Krishna said, like simply you can satisfy him by offering by devotion a leaf, a flower, patram pushpam phalam prayam, or by doing the Sankirtana Yagna. So definitely if we are not doing or somebody not doing, they are in ignorance, they have to know that. And if since we are doing, we are very fortunate, we are blessed, and we are having Sukriti from Krishna and from the Guru and Varanga and devotees, that we are able to do that. Hare Krishna, just wanted to point on that, Prabhuji.
Yes, very nice. That is exactly, we realize the worth of what we are getting when it is taken away.
It's taken away. And this reminds the Ishopanishad principle of proprietorship. That where we think that we have, but we don't consider the who owns it, who is giving it, who is providing it. Krishna is empowering the demigods to provide to us. But we don't consider the fact. We think we are doing, then we won't be obedient because you're not saying it. So that's another
exactly
context.
Right.
Even the corona now, like when you were telling in middle of the lecture, if we don't respect the nature, it's the same thing. I mean, right now we don't know whether corona is man-made or whatever, but the thought would have come. Why the the fire, all that in California like that? Why this? There's something not taken care or not being given back the way we were supposed to the, like we're not obedient enough, we're not respectable, we don't have that gratitude, and then nature is just saying, fine, this is what you get it. And we can't even get the oxygen.
Yeah.
The
exactly
question,
right.
people really start thinking, then they'll get the answer. There's like atheists, if we don't think, we will never get the answer. We'll be forever ignorant and lack of knowledge.
Yeah. And then as a human being, if you're an atheist, you may perform whatever actions you want and think that nothing is going to happen. But then we know law of karma, reincarnation, next life, somebody could be born an animal. Then, then what do you do? So in the human life, one has to be a little more responsible and intelligent and try to understand things that are not obviously in front of us.
Maybe that's why Kali Yuga is 400,000 years. I don't know if I remember right.
4,32,000.
When, sorry, Prabhuji?
4,32,000.
4,30,000. So then it will take so many births for anyone to realize, and that's why.
So also, Prabhu, one important comment I would like to add here is that, so if we really stop at this point, right, we feel like Krishna is actually promoting demigod worship. So, but if we go forward, right, then he'll say, whatever demigods are sanctioning you is actually sanctioned by me. So worship me rather than worshipping them. So one has to be very careful here, because if we hear all these things, we feel like he's promoting demigod worship. Thank them, worship them, do yajna to them, sacrifice to them. So it's all kind of promoting demigod.
Yeah.
So,
that's a very important point, Prabhuji. And it's important to understand that the system, he's describing the system here. That he's saying, I sent the demigods.
Yeah. So it is basically atheist rather than being really atheist. At least come to the demigod, then thank them, and then stage by stage come to me. So that's what Bhagavad Gita takes you stage by stage.
Stage by stage. And here, just within the span of 7 verses, Krishna will take us from this level to that level.
Yes.
And the important point is that in text 10 itself, right in the beginning, he says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of them. So Krishna said, I sent them. I sent the demigods, and I sent this whole system. So an intelligent person must stop and think, well, if Krishna is sending the demigod, he's giving the system. He's the one to be worshipped. But if somebody wants to understand how the management of the material universe is taking place, then that answer is also given. Krishna is saying the demigods are my representatives. They are running the show, but I am the overall in charge.
So there might be many MPs, but PM is only one.
PM is only one. And each minister is in charge of just their one department. The prime minister is in charge of the entire government. So same way Krishna is in charge of everything. And he gives service to, his devotees as demigods. You can run this, you can do this, you can do this. And they are doing it to please Krishna.
Even if when we chant 16 rounds, right? Even if we chant one round for one of the demigods, 16 rounds we can thank 16 demigods for giving our daily thing, like light, heat, water, fire, air. And if you go on, at least 16 demigods you can thank, which in turn you thank Krishna.
Yeah. You thank Krishna, you thank everybody.
Yeah.
Other questions or doubts or comments other people have?
Prabhuji, I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, so you told that as we wanted to come to this world, so that's why the Krishna sent here. So then is the demigods also wants to come in that position or that way, or how it is that, Prabhuji? Like,
It's very nice question. So we came to this material world because we were rebelling. We said we want to go there and we want to enjoy, we want to be the Lord. we want to be the enjoyers. The demigods, they are different. They already know that actually they are devotees. They know that Krishna is in charge and they want to serve Krishna. And so their service to Krishna is, okay, Krishna, should I go and become in charge of the oxygen in this material creation? Krishna says, okay. So they are doing their service to Krishna. They are very aware that whatever power they have is given to them by Krishna. So you see, you may have read or must be familiar about Sagar Manthan, when the demons and the demigods, they had this whole battle and tussle and all that kind of thing. So the demigods, the difference between Deva and Asura, Asuras were also powerful, Devas are also powerful. And both of them were so powerful that they could fight with each other. But the difference between Deva and Asura is Deva knows that his power is coming from Krishna and they always approach him for help.
Yes.
Asuras, they say our power is we are powerful.
Yeah.
They think they have the power. So that is the difference.
Okay.
So the demigods were sent here. They wanted to come here to serve Krishna over here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice explanation.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I was just thinking, like demigods also, because even Brahma is a position. For that, like everybody reaches in their lifetime, like at least once they reach that position. So can't the demigods be the same way? Like it's also like going up, as you climb up the ladder, you get the position of demigod.
So Mataji, is your question that can anybody attain to the position of demigod?
Yeah, it's just in relation, just related to Shiv Kumar Prabhu's question. He was asking how did they exist, right? So I was thinking, like when you were explaining, I was thinking like Brahma also is a position, so everyone gets a chance to get to that position. So everyone doesn't everyone get the chance to become demigods also?
To become a demigod takes a lot of pious activity and lots of sacrifices and things like that. So you see, again in this Sagar Manthan episode and after that, Bali Maharaj was performing all those sacrifices under the direction of Shukracharya to become the king of heaven. He wanted to take over Indradev's post. And so you have to perform, so he had to perform these yajnas very perfectly in order to attain to that post. And that's why the demigods, they approached Lord Vishnu and said, please come and stop him. And so he came as Vaman Dev and he stopped that sacrifice. So to go to the demigod position takes, for a living entity, takes a lot of sacrifices and a lot of tapasya, penances before they can qualify for anything like that. So what Krishna says instead to do in Bhagavad, he says, Dharman Pratyajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. But even the demigods, they are existing in this material world and they also face tension. The demons, the asuras are always trying to fight with them to take away their post. So there is tension even for the demigods. And at the end of creation, even the demigods, they come to an end. You see, the creation is wound up. So Krishna says that instead of aspiring to the post of demigod, it is better that you aspire to come back to the spiritual world. And it's a very simple process. Just follow this process of Sankirtan and come back to Golok Vrindavan. So Mataji, if your question is that can a living entity become a demigod? They can, if they follow the process. But so no, go ahead, Mataji.
No. Sorry, Prabhuji. It's just not like can they or cannot they. it's just like, isn't it like elevating from one position to another? Just like how we can one day get to the position of Brahma, maybe is there no chance that there is a time when we can get to that position also, was my thinking.
If one's desire is to get to that position, and if we follow the regulations and rules, then it is possible. But Krishna says that instead of desiring that, you desire to come back to the spiritual world, because even the demigod's position is in this material world and it is not free of anxiety. But being accepted into the spiritual world, going back to Golok Vrindavan Dham, is the highest accomplishment. So that's why Krishna is promoting that. He's promoting that objective, and he's not promoting the objective of try to become a demigod.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Although what happens is when you follow the process of bhakti, you develop all the good qualities that the demigods have.
Also, to start with, in this material world, we were Brahma once, and then we fell down. It's not that we will become Brahma. Actually, we were Brahma, then we fell down because of our consciousness. Then if we want to go back to Brahma, we can still go back to Brahma. But that is not our objective. That's all.
Oh, okay. So I was going in the reverse order. Okay, sorry. Sorry about that.
So basically, if that background picture that is there behind Mukunda's screen, that's where Krishna wants us to come, be in his association, like all those cowherd boys and cows. Thank you, Mukunda. He stepped aside. But the beauty of that picture is, it's a glimpse of Golok Vrindavan. The beauty of it is that not only are those cowherd boys and the cows and everybody enjoying, even the grass, the flowers, the insects, the birds, the bees, they are all enjoying because they are all conscious beings. Even Krishna's garland is a conscious being. It is not just a material garland. Krishna's bracelet, so Balram is holding that small hull in his hand. All of that, they are pure devotees of Krishna. Nothing is material there. Everything is conscious. In fact, in the Damodar Ashtakam, the very first verse, right? Namami Ishwaram Satchidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam. That Lasat Kundalam means those shining earrings are being. So he's offering obeisances Namam Ishwaram, and they're offering obeisances even to the shining earrings, Kundalam, because he's saying that Kundal, such a wonderful devotee of the Lord, all the time it is by Krishna's cheek. Imagine that position. So to be in the spiritual world is Satchidananda, eternal happiness, no tension. So that's why Krishna is saying, come there, come back to that situation.
I always tell my son, so if you go to Goloka, the best part is you don't have to do your homework. You just eat, play, sleep, eat, play, sleep, eat, play, sleep, nothing. So you don't have to do homework. You don't have to study.
There is no sleep also. Is it eat and play all the time? There's no fatigue.
No COVID.
No COVID, nothing. No problem.
And we don't have to do our
Mukunda
homework.
changed his picture.
And we don't have to do our homework to go back to Golaka Vrindavan.
Prabhuji, one point you mentioned very nice, like the ignorant people, the atheists say that like once you saw the God, then I will worship the God, or I believe that there is the God existence. So one such kind of person asked a question to Prabhupada Ji Maharaj, can you show me the God? So Prabhupada Ji Maharaj said, sit down. You are in between me and God. So, so I mean, it depends upon the mood and answer. Like if somebody is very ignorant, we cannot convince them there is a God. So only we can do that. Just give them prasadam, eat that, and then by Sukriti mercy they can understand the God.
Yeah. It'll happen over time automatically.
Right.
I think we are good, Prabhu.
All right, Prabhuji, Mataji. Thank you all for your wonderful questions and comments and sharing thoughts and realizations. Always very, very nice. So thank you all very much.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to your association.
Very good explanation. So before I let everyone go,
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I have
Prabhuji.
two announcements.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Quick two announcements, bro. Sorry to hold you back. Tomorrow is Atlantic City Rath Yatra if anybody wants to go at 2 p.m. So weather seems to be good. Here in Bensalem it's not good, but in Atlantic City it is good at 2 p.m. Okay, so
You have the flyer, Prabhuji, can you forward us?
yeah, flyer I'll share. It was already shared in our group, but I'll reshare it. And Sunday, as usual, 8 p.m. Please join. Last week we didn't have because of he was held up. His Grace Adhikata Prabhu was held up in some Vyasa Puja. So, but this week it will continue. Please join Sunday 8 p.m. That's all, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
One chakra.
One chakra to the star.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.